an expanded and renovated McNichols Campus Student Union, which is underway on the McNichols campus. The renovation of a number of existing academic facilities for our social sciences and engineering and science programs, as well as two facilities projects for Titan Athletics, the Titan Athletic Village Track and Field, and also the Road to the Championship. But tonight, you hear a little bit more about a project that's of extreme importance for the School of Law, and that's the School of Law Courtyard Renovation Project, and also increasing the amount of endowed scholarship funds for the School of Law so that we can recruit even more students like Ben and Shanice to the university. The Courtyard is the proverbial front door to Detroit Mercy Law, and we want to infuse a new sense of energy, warmth, and pride in that entrance. The renovation will transform the space into a park-like setting where students, faculty, and staff, as well as the community, including parishioners of Saints Peter and Paul Jesuit Church, can study, can reflect, and also connect with each other in the middle of Detroit. Also, increasing scholarship funds will help attract and retain talented, diverse, and ambitious students whose dependence on loans we would like to decrease so that they can concentrate on their passion for the practice of law. You'll hear and learn much more about that this evening, and also on how you can help support both those endowed scholarship funds and the Courtyard Renovation Project. And that's one of the reasons why we're really so excited that so many of you are here tonight for this particular program. The School of Law Advancement Committee that was started by Dean Crocker recruited co-chairs Megan Kennedy Reardon, class of 90, and James Tam, class of 85, to lead the school's advancement committee. The committee consists of 14 alumni and friends focused on raising funds for this Courtyard Renovation Project and also the endowed scholarship funds. And I want to thank Megan and also Jim for their leadership and the other members of the committee for your support. So thank you for taking time tonight, which I know is a very, very busy time for all of us. And I want you to know that we really appreciate your involvement and how important this fundraising project is to the university, and also I think to you, as you recognize, because our current students and our future students will really appreciate it when it's all done. And many years from now, you'll be proud of what you did to assist your alma mater. So have a great evening, and thanks again for joining us tonight and being a part of this very, very special evening.
Thank you, Dr. Garibaldi. We now have the pleasure of hearing from Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Pamela Zarkowski. She has been in this position since 2008. An educator for 40 years, she has served in numerous leadership roles in the university and in national organizations, including being president of the American Dental Education Association. She serves on the boards of Resurrection University and the American Dental Association Foundation, and she chairs the visiting committee of the University of Michigan School of Dentistry. She received a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Public Health from the University of Michigan School of Public Health and a JD from Wayne State University School of Law. Please join me in welcoming Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Pamela Zarkowski.
Thank you so much, Dean Crocker. And thank you for that nice introduction. And again, I want to echo the president and Dean Crocker's welcome. My remarks will be very short. I just wanted you all to know, as alumni and friends of the School of Law, that I have the distinct honor and pleasure of working with Dean Crocker, observing her leadership, celebrating her successes, and seeing how she and her leadership team do so much for the students, for their peers, and you'll hear about the future of the School of Law. And I think if you haven't heard this or read about it in the docket or attended previous events, the faculty and the staff and the administrators at the School of Law have been phenomenal during this past year or so. The way that they reacted to the situation that we found ourselves in, the way they responded to the students, how they interacted with the rest of the university and supported all that we were trying to do as we tried to help our students and each other through a very challenging time. And we've seen success from all of their work on a number of levels. But you should also be very proud of the students that will follow you and become our future alumni. A week ago, the president and I were involved in a board of trustees meeting, and one of the events that we had was a plenary session where we invited students from the School of Law, 2 undergraduate students, a graduate student, and a representative from the School of Law. I think I might have said that. And Mariah, who spoke about her experiences, talked about the support that she received from the School of Law, how she and her fellow peers supported each other, the events that were planned virtually, everything from recruiting students to various competitions that the law students were involved in and were successful in, and how grateful she was for all that was done. So you should know that we're very proud of the School of Law. I'm very thrilled to be able to work with leaders like Phyllis and others in her particular school. And you're going to hear some great things this evening. So again, thank you from the provost, and I'll turn this back over to Phyllis.
Thank you, Provost Sarkowski. The future of Detroit Mercy Law is strong and will be even stronger when we renovate our courtyard and increase our endowed scholarships. I learned from an architect that a building should speak to the community. When prospective students come to the law school, I tell them how our building does that now in 2 significant ways. One is that all of our classrooms have windows so that as we're studying the law, we see ourselves as part of Detroit, not apart from it. We also see ourselves as part of an international community because you can look out our windows and see Canada. The other way our building shows how we are a community and speaks to us as a community is the location of our faculty offices. They are right across from our classrooms. Now, in many law schools, and I tell students to pay attention to this, faculty offices are often another building, or they're down obscure hallways, or you have to get past a security guard. The significance of our faculty offices being right across the hall from the classrooms is a visible representation of how accessible our faculty are to our students, how committed they are to our students' success. There's another way in which our building should speak to the community, and that is through our courtyard. It is the entry to our building, and as such, it should show our values and our mission, that we are an inclusive and welcoming community to our students, to the parishioners of Saints Peter and Paul Jesuit Church, to the greater Detroit community. A renovated courtyard will show our commitment to our students' academic success and well-being, our commitment to preserving the historic buildings and setting that surrounds our courtyard, and our commitment to staying in downtown Detroit and continuing as a vibrant member of that community. Increasing our endowed scholarships will serve a similar purpose of welcoming and being an inclusive and welcoming community. Scholarships help us show how much we value enrolling diverse and academically strong students. And they show that we are committed to our students being able to pursue their dreams, just like each of you have been able to pursue your dreams. So our goals for these 2 projects, our financial goals are these. For the courtyard renovation project, 1.65 million, and for the endowed scholarships, 1 million. So let's hear more about these priorities from our co-chairs and our students. Next slide, please. As President Garibaldi said, our co-chairs are Megan Kennedy Reardon, class of 90, Jim Tam, class of 85, and we have 14 committee members who represent every decade from 1960 through 2010 and include a representative from the Saints Peter and Paul Jesuit Church, who is a graduate of the University of Detroit Mercy School of Architecture. First, we will hear from Jim Tam. Next slide, please, about our Courtyard project.
Thank you, Dean Crocker, and welcome to the members of the University of Detroit Mercy Law community who are joining us tonight. It's my great pleasure, along with Megan Kennedy Reardon, to co-host or co-chair this very important fundraiser. We have a very unique setting, as Dean Crocker indicated, for an urban law school with a courtyard that's really a park-like setting, and it's the very first experience that people get when they come to the law school. It's our gateway, it's our entry, and it's really been underutilized over the years. But with improvement and by raising the funds that we're seeking through this project this evening, we can do some of the things that are shown in these depictions. The space could be a very unique and an important gathering space for alumni, for law school events, and for students during the course of the day. And as you see through these renderings, there's going to be opportunities for naming and for making contributions. And those include the naming of the courtyard, which is at a value of $750,000, the gated entry, the landscape and green space, study breaks and tables that are depicted. And of course, these are ambitious goals for large donors, law firms, and others. And if you are a member of a law firm that would be in a position to make such a contribution, we would certainly welcome it. But smaller contributions are appreciated just as much. And we think that by making these improvements, it can make the law school more attractive to students. We can use it for functions like we've had in the past. And by way of example, we had the 100th anniversary of the law school back in 2012. It would have been fabulous to have that gathering and reception in the courtyard. It ended up being in the parking lot with tents, and not that it wasn't a great experience, but doing it in our own courtyard would be so much better. So we hope that all of you can participate and make a contribution to these improvements to the courtyard. And I'll now defer to my co-chair, Megan Kennedy Reardon, with regard to the alumni scholarship.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you very much. And I have to tell everybody what a wonderful relationship Jim and I have, and it's really nice to work with him. So thank you. And I would like to thank everyone tonight for taking time out of their evening and joining us for this presentation. It really does mean a lot to us. One word comes to mind when I agreed to co-chair this committee, and that's thankful. I am thankful for my legal education. I am thankful of the 30 years of steady employment that I've had. I'm thankful for the lifelong friends that I have made from the university. I'm thankful that I met my husband during the time that I was at the university. I knew it was time to step up and do something. To whom much is given, much will be required. If you have heard that line of wisdom, you know that what it means, we are held responsible for what we have. If we are blessed with talents, wealth, knowledge, time, and the like, it is expected we use these well to glorify God and benefit others. This is simply responsible stewardship. Our education went beyond an academic foundation in the law. The Jesuit and Mercy values are infused in one's intellectual, social, and spiritual development. This is why I ask you to consider making a donation to our Endowed Scholarship Fund. Next slide. Oh, yeah. Right now, you probably all know the cost of education is soaring. If you can go back to, I'm sorry, back to the other one. The cost is just absolutely eye-opening. My youngest is in the midst of applying for school for next year. And some of the schools that she has applied to, we're looking at $51,000 a year, $71,000 a year, and it's just skyrocketing. 44% of our students receive scholarships. 75% of our students are first in their families to attend law school. Increased accessibility for those that want to pursue a legal education is a must. We are asking alumni to contribute what one is able. Our UDM education was more than a mere education. Our legal education opened different doors, created careers, successful livelihoods, and friendships. The scholarship fund we are building is to make sure generations to come have the same opportunities that were given us and are not to be discouraged by cost. A chance to pay it forward to those who might not be able to afford the opportunities we were given. Scholarships are investments in our future at UDM. Please consider giving to one of the endowed scholarship funds. They're listed here today. We have the Alumni Association Endowed Scholarship Fund, the David Williams and Gail Carr Williams Fund, the Daniel J. Wright Memorial Endowed Scholarship Fund set up by Maura Corrigan for child welfare, the Class of 1990, yay, 30th Year Reunion Scholarship Fund, the Class of 1979 Pledge for Endowed Scholarships, and also, if anyone's interested in setting up their own endowed scholarship, please contact Julie Hine, and she's more than willing to discuss with you on how to set that up. These are really important times. In light of what's happened in the last year and the fact that people were unemployed, including a lot of students, that want to go into education, we really need to step up and try and support. So please consider, if you haven't already, or if you have, we'll take that money again too, to give to one of these scholarship programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Megan. We will now hear from two current students, Ben Christensen and Shanice Leach, and we'll start with Ben.
All right, thank you, Dean Crocker. I'm honored for the opportunity to share a little bit about my experience at Detroit Mercy Law. First, a little bit about my background. I went to music school at U of M for undergrad. After undergrad, I worked as a composer, audio engineer, and started a record label, amongst other things. But then I got more involved in social and economic equality issues and worked for the United Community Housing Coalition, which led me to apply to Detroit Mercy Law, where I accepted a Dean Scholarship. It has been a wonderful experience. Some highlights include writing a law review note on a topic that I was introduced to during a summer internship in federal court, and recently receiving a fellowship award to work at Sugar Law Center this summer. I'm grateful, so grateful to the faculty, staff, students, and my family for all their support throughout my legal education. However, I would like to focus on the students for a moment as I represent them tonight. Although law school is competitive by design, the students at Detroit Mercy Law have defiantly created a sense of caring and camaraderie that I believe is rare at most law schools. I imagine that the alumni here know exactly what I mean by that. But I want to share one experience that speaks to this. As most of you likely remember the stress of your first semester at law school, it is safe to say that different people handled the stress differently. And one day in property class, a good friend of mine did not understand the material well, and eventually at the end of the class, still confused, my friend broke down in tears. Some students were respectful and provided space, while others flocked around and provided support, words of encouragement, and offered to help explain the subject. Well, needless to say, I knew then that I was at the right school. And on that day, I would like to imagine what it would have been like if one of us could have said to my friend, hey, would you like to grab a cup of coffee and talk in the courtyard about it? So this brings me to one reason why we are here. And I want to just share a few points as to why I think renovating the courtyard is important for the school. First, COVID-19 has taught us that the importance of maintaining spaces for our well-being. I presume that everybody has done some reimagining of spaces in our homes since the pandemic started. Our atrium is evidence of a space reimagined, the benefits of which are immeasurable. Secondly, COVID-19 has also reminded us that how vital quality social interaction is, and a well-designed space will foster quality communication. Thirdly, from my time as an in-person student, the courtyard was almost a place to meet. What I mean by that is that the students would sometimes congregate outside, but as it is now, the courtyard is not quite inviting enough to encourage us to visit it. So as others have pointed out, the renovation will create an excellent first impression for all those who visit Detroit Mercy Law. And finally, I think this is a great chance to support a historic campus that has stayed in Detroit through difficult times and is woven into the fabric of the community. And to me, our campus's beauty is the marks that different generations have made on it throughout the years, continually mixing the beauty of the old with the new. So thank you, Dean Crocker, for inviting me to speak, and thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Ben. Shanice?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Shanice Leach. I'm a second-year law student at Detroit Mercy Law. I'm originally from Syracuse, New York, but I've called Detroit my home for about 4 years now. Although I was not raised here, I really feel as if Detroit is my home. Detroit has been extremely welcoming, and I truly want to make an impact, and I see myself raising a family here. I graduated from Wayne State in 2018, and I took a year off from school to work at the Friend of the Court as a domestic relations specialist. I also volunteered as a victim's advocate on the weekends, and I studied for the LSAT at night. Thanks to Detroit Mercy, I was provided with the opportunity to progress towards my degree or towards my dream of becoming an attorney. As a first-generation law student and college graduate, my goal was to gain financial support for school mainly through scholarships. In order to get a scholarship, I knew I needed to be 100% focused on school. So I quit my full-time job with health benefits, a stable income, and career advancement opportunities to begin my legal career. I did this because becoming a lawyer has always been my dream, and I'm willing to make the necessary sacrifices to achieve it. I was nervous about law school. I've heard all the stories about how everyone would have a type A personality and be ready to do whatever it took to get to the top of the curve. Detroit Mercy Law is nothing like that. I found myself spending most of my free time either studying or not studying and spending time with my classmates. Some nights we would stay at the library until they kicked us out. Our section even made a Detroit Mercy Law running club, and we would meet right at the front gates every Friday after class to go for a run. Our section was dedicated to helping each other succeed inside and outside of the classroom, and I truly feel as if without the support of my classmates and the law school staff, I would not have been able to get the scholarship that I have today or the grades that I have. This year, I received the Richard T. Krishunas and the Michael V. Morgan Scholarship. This scholarship was meant for me. One of the criteria was to be interested in nonprofit work. I want to start a nonprofit to help victims of domestic violence, and this would be continuing the work that I did with victims advocacy before I started law school. So this scholarship has been extremely important to helping me continue my journey to become a successful lawyer. It is a blessing from God It was a blessing from God that my hard work did not go unnoticed, and I'm so thankful to Detroit Mercy Law for the opportunity, and I'm forever thankful for that. Through this great institution, I was able to gain a legal community and friends that support me like family. I truly value the programs and scholarships that Detroit Mercy in general has, and I'm extremely thankful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanice. And next we'll hear from Julie Hind. She is our Director of Development. She's been with us almost a year and is doing a terrific job. So Julie. think you may have your mute on, Julie.
Thank you. And thank all of you for joining us this evening to learn more about our campaign projects. As you think about this evening's presentation, please keep an open heart and mind. It's transformational gifts that can really impact an organization, its faculty, and its students. When you look across America, you'll see that every great institution has been built due to philanthropy and people just like you who truly want to make a difference. So as I reach out to you in the coming weeks, I hope that you'll support our ambitious plans and that you'll think about your role in helping us to become successful. Let's support the next generation of law students to achieve their dreams. Once again, thanks for your time and your interest. And I'll turn it back to you, Dean Crocker, so that we can open it up for any questions or comments that you all may have.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, each of you, for joining us tonight. I do want to take your questions, but before we do that, I want to acknowledge Maura Corrigan here tonight. She's the mover and shaker behind one of our new scholarships that's named for Daniel J. Wright, who was a classmate of Maura's, and she worked with him when she was on the Michigan Supreme Court. So Maura, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. I was asked to just talk to you a little bit, and it's so nice to see everybody here tonight. Many of you I know, so thank you for being present. And I'll just say a few words about why the Daniel J. Wright Endowed Scholarship in Child Welfare. As Dean Crocker said, and thank you, Dean, thank you so much. As Dean Crocker said, Dan was my law school classmate in the class of '73, and he was a dear friend. He was also a brilliant lawyer, what we used to call book lawyers. And he was great at being a book lawyer and had become a commissioner on the Supreme Court when I arrived at the Supreme Court. And but most importantly, he made magnificent contributions to our great state of Michigan by leading the State Court Administrator's Office Division of Child Support and Child Welfare. And I'll just tell one brief story about Dan, but he was a remarkable and inspirational leader, and he died way too young back in 2012. And his contribution should not be forgotten. Most importantly to me, they should be remembered by his alma mater that gave him the opportunity to be a great lawyer. Dan, I recruited Dan when I became Chief Justice to help us with a really significant problem we had in the judicial branch. We were facing $178 million in federal penalties because over several years we had failed to convert to a statewide IT system in child support. What we had was a lot of local counties that were running their own systems, and there was intransigence and a desire to retain local control. But the federal law required us to switch. Michigan hadn't done it, so we were being fined. I recruited Dan out of the commissioner's office and asked him to lead our efforts to transition to the statewide system. And by God, Dan Wright did it. He went county by county in this great state of Michigan and convinced commissioners throughout the state that they ought to cooperate in this process of moving us to a statewide system. And he got it done. And in the process, the federal officials that were involved with us called it the Michigan miracle. They couldn't believe that we accomplished it. And it was all attributable to Dan's work. And because of Dan, we were able to avert $178 million in federal penalties. Dan went on to become the head of child welfare for the state of Michigan, in addition to child support, where his outstanding skills served the state in the area of child welfare. He did similar things and was inspirational. Well, back in 2011, the Supreme Court created the Daniel J. Wright Award in Dan's memory to recognize his outstanding contributions. And it just struck me when I talked to Julie a while back that it would be really important for Dan's alma mater to remember his amazing contributions, and that future students might be able to learn from his example, that it should not be forgotten. So I want to thank Julie Hine for all her hard work and the committee that's been working with me, and we're thrilled to have this opportunity, and hope for those of you that knew Dan, or if you didn't know him, maybe you'll open your hearts and your wallet and help us with this endowed scholarship. We're on the way, so I'm excited. So thank you all so much. Thanks, Dean.
Thank you, Maura. She really speaks to the value of endowed scholarships, both to honor somebody and for future generations to learn about that person and be able to be inspired by them. And with an endowed scholarship, it will last for years and years. We have endowed scholarships that were created back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and they are still meaningful to our students today. So, questions, either for me or co-chairs or current students? You can raise your hand. You can just raise it, or you can use the raise hand function, which is probably under reactions. Sometimes it's under participant. It depends on what version of Zoom you're using.
Or please share a favorite memory that you might have while attending the school. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, this is such a great group. Favorite professor, classmate, class. Dennis Dabney asks, how much to start an endowment? It's $25,000 to start an endowment, and that can be given over 3 years, 3 to 5 years. So it doesn't have to be all at once, but that's the minimum that we need.
And I can jump in and tell you that so far, big drum roll, we have raised $368,000 in endowed scholarships. So we are not quite halfway yet, but we're well on our way. So that is a positive sign going forward. So thank everybody.
And Len asks, what's the time frame for the courtyard? So we would like to raise the money for the courtyard in the next 3 years. And once we have the money raised, then we can start working on it.
Well, I don't have a question, Dean Crocker, but I really just feel compelled to say thank you for this program this evening. Actually, I've had great contact with the law school over the last year, but I don't know. I think hearing from the students tonight was just incredibly meaningful for me, and just hearing a little bit more about the plans for the law school. I know I've had various conversations with you and Julie over the last couple of years, but this was really, really worth. Well, I participated in another such program for the broader school, and I thought, oh, I probably don't need to listen to this one tonight. But I got to tell you, I'm so grateful that I did, and so thank you for this evening.
You're welcome. I have to say, I love hearing from our students.
This is Monica Barber,
Yes.
and I'm just trying to orient this a little better. And I just wanted to say, as far as a memory goes, just like Ms. Reardon said, I also met my husband at the law school. And so that was a very fond memory. And for the others on the line that don't know, I am in-house counsel for the University of Detroit Mercy. And like Pam, I have worked with Dean Crocker, and I have seen so many good things come out of the school. I've participated in many volunteer initiatives that you've had for student mentoring, and I've enjoyed every single one of them. Every student I have ever worked with there over these past several years have always been very bright, charming charismatic. I could never say more about them. And they've all been, very grateful to be at the school. So I just wanted to mention that. And I think that this is a great program. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Did you meet your husband as a first year?
I think he was in his third year. Yeah, I think I was in the end of my first year, actually. Yes.
Great. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Others, other questions?
I just had a quick comment. Sorry, this is Joe
Yeah.
Vernon, class of 2005, and thanks for the presentation. I'm excited to serve on the committee, but also thanks for having the students on with us. I share Monica's sentiment in that when I meet these students, they almost breathe a lot of life into me. It's nice to see the positivity, the excitement at this stage in their careers. I'm on our hiring committee at Miller Canfield, and just the caliber of students and people that we've come across through the interview process over the last 4, 5, 6 years has just been wonderful. So it's always a pleasure to meet the students and to hear the interesting things that they're involved in. And I can tell you as one alum, and I speak to many others, that we read all the updates and everything that comes out on social media about all the wonderful things they're doing, and please keep the stories coming in the legal news. So thanks for everything that you're doing there.
You're welcome. I know, I read the stories every day and I'm just like, wow, I can't believe they did that, or they're doing that while they're in law school, before they came. It's really, it's very exciting. And our two students today, Ben and Shanice, just really represent the kinds of students that we have, the opportunities they're taking advantage of. And I have to say, it's inspiring to have watched our students go through the last year, moving from being in person to being online, and the challenges that has brought, but also some really amazing learning opportunities for students. And I've seen them just have such perseverance and resilience, and we'd all like to be back together again in person, but we understand that we can't. And so students are making the best of it. Our first year students have formed study groups together, even though they've never met each other in person. They're learning with each other and helping each other grow. It's really, it's a very exciting time, oddly, for us to be together that way as a community. And this evening is actually a really good example of one of the benefits of being on Zoom, which is people from all over the country are here. They're Alabama, Arizona, New York. And if we were in person, we wouldn't have been able to have you here. And so that helps us expand our community and bring people back into our community in ways that we haven't been able to in the past. I see Chuck nodding his head. Lots are down in Arizona.
I can't go to a group without giving a speech, it seems. But yeah, well, thank you. I thought you guys did a wonderful job. This is something that is exciting. Dean Crocker came out to Arizona and saw what they did at ASU, and I hope that inspired her a little. One of the things that was wonderful in the ASU experience is the way that people did really gravitate to the naming rights and the various opportunities that were involved. People that didn't even attend ASU Law School gave obscene amounts of money, $10 million, $5 million, and the like, for various naming rights. And it was not only breathtaking, but it is a facility that is in high use. And I'm hopeful that what you program here is going to be the exact same thing. And it's honestly long overdue. So wonderful that you're taking that step. And I hope to participate in a modest way, and wish everyone all the best, and hope that they participate as well.
Thank you, Chuck. Arnold has his hand up.
I'm the vice president for university advancement at Detroit Mercy. So I didn't go to law school. I'm not an attorney, but I have to tell you, I've gotten to know some graduates from the law school, and I see Jean Gargaro here, which I've gotten to know well. It's been a pleasure to work with Jean on a number of projects. And one of the things is Maura was saying, which amazes me, and I don't know if it comes from the Jesuit and Mercy background, but in law school, I have interacted with alums. They are so humble, but when you look at the things that they accomplished, it is absolutely amazing. And a lot of it is almost underneath the scenes. People may not know about them, but my goodness, what has been accomplished by some of these alums in law, in the courts, in all different ways is really phenomenal. I would almost defer to Gene to say, because Gene has been, he's been there, been around and seen some of the people that have come out of that law school and what they've accomplished and how the stature that they really have. It truly is incredible.
Well, thank you, Arnold. Class of 1967, I think that gets me some kind of an award tonight. But Phyllis and Antoine and Arnold and Julie, all of this wonderful team, I'm very, very pleased to see the people really step up and contribute to this important cause. I think endowed scholarships are really essential to the future of the law school. The Courtyard project, very, very exciting. So I'm happy to be part of the team and ready to help in any way I can. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you for being here and for your support over all these many years. It's really made a difference for the law school.
Phyllis, can I say something?
Yes.
So I didn't meet my husband at the law school. I went to Wayne State, as you introduced, but he is a graduate of the law school. So maybe that gets me points, from all of you. So we have that tie. But I wanted to just comment that I was at an event when David and Gail Williams, you saw their scholarship announced. And I don't know if everybody at the meeting knows that David Williams was a member of our board of trustees before he passed away. And he and the president were friends, of course, as well as with Gail. But that event, and some of you may know this, Dean Crocker and many of her team, with the help truly of some of the students as well and alumni, has done some rather significant things in kind of changing the way the law school looks. So you might have seen written up, and I know that Joe, you talked about getting all the updates about different students and such, but putting up the portrait of the first African-American graduate of the school. And then we honored Judge Denise Langford Morris, who was also a Board of Trustee member, as one of the first female portraits in the school. So as we think about the Courtyard, I think about what's gone on inside the bricks, or inside the walls of the school. And I just think the Courtyard, because we always walk there, we have photo ops there for various things, and to just have that Courtyard be the gathering space that you talked about, Ben, knowing that students like to get out of the building as they truly talk about what just happened in class, no doubt, or maybe not, or complain about the class they were just in. But whatever that's worth, I just think what's gone on the inside and the renovations, and some of Dean Crocker and I just talked about another piece of wonderful artwork that's going to be mounted in the law school called Justice. So there's a lot going on inside with the people, with the building. And I just think the outside is just a great marriage with that. So.
Yeah, it'd be good to have the outside match the inside.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful space. It's a beautiful classroom. It has terrific meeting spaces, but yes, being able to get outside, and Ben is right. We've learned the importance of well-being and of having space to go outside and breathe for a while. And the Courtyard could be that. It's actually a really large space when you, the way it is right now, I think most people think that what is the law schools is just the ramp leading up to the door, and it's actually the entire space belongs to the law school. We share it with the church gladly, but we will be able to renovate that entire space, which will be much bigger, have room for tables, for flora and fauna, some sculpture. So it'll be a very inviting and welcoming space. Well, if there are no other questions, I thank you all for coming. I thank you for your support, past, present, and future. Julie and I look forward to talking with you in the days and weeks to come. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either of us as well. And thank you to our co-chairs and to our students for speaking tonight. It really brings home what all of this is really about. So thank you.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All.
Thank you, Dean Crocker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
It was
all.
great.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.